It's really been an interesting afternoon for me. Thanks for allowing me to attend. Carl, I was deeply honored when Matt Hammer asked me to the privilege of honoring you, but I did have one major condition. That was that the baseball season had to be totally over. Here I am. Thank you. Somebody understood that. I'm honored to be here with my daughter, Carrie, her friend, Debbie, Medina, and a few of our colleagues from the A's and the Earthquakes, including our A's president, Mike Crowley. And it's good to see so many friends here, especially Susan Hammer, who's done so much for so many of us. I never voted for her because I live in LA. Matt Hammer runs a very tight ship. He's given me about 3 minutes to introduce my friend Carl, who actually has had 3 magnificent careers: government, high tech, and nonprofits. Probably I should just hand Carl the microphone and let him introduce himself, but Carl's very shy when it comes to having a microphone. Actually, we're here to honor Carl, not roast him, so I better be a little serious. In my 3 minutes, permit me to offer 3 points about Carl, 3 of many. First, Carl gets things done. I've lived long enough to develop a theory I call the cost of indecision. That being that the cost of indecision is much greater than making a decision. And I think that's especially true in California, and especially in Silicon Valley, and especially with Carl Guardino. Lately, we seem to live in a world where the process is the end product. So many individuals and entities live far and off the process that no end product sometimes ever gets done. That's not true when Carl's involved. And I'm not talking about things that are necessary like environmental approvals and the like. I'm sure in your work at PACT to build a more just community, and that's what I perceive from all the discussions I've been hearing today, you can find yourself frustrated often in the face of issues where people and functions and communities and regulations say something can't be done. What I admire so much about Carl is his ability to remove false obstacles and make things happen. Carl has his unique ability to move forward when other people are pointing out all the obstacles that lie in the face of a particular objective. Carl does big things, and he's associated with big things, and also with small things too. But for example, BART, affordable housing, job creation, and even professional sports in the South Bay. And I'm referring to the 49ers, of course. Second, Carl represents what we desperately need more of today. People who want to be part of a bigger plan and a bigger cause than themselves. To do that successfully, Carl takes people who are like himself, who are unafraid to embrace every interested party and to accomplish a worthy goal. And that was so evident in all of the talks that I've heard so far today. His ability to get people of all stripes, labor, business, environmentalists, to work together is truly impressive. I've become accustomed to Carl over the last few years, and my office has an automatic email situation. When Carl emails us, it goes right to my checking account. That way I avoid a lot of guilt-ridden phone calls and things of that nature. Third, as a story of any community unfolds, we are often told why we can't do things. It's unending. Carl runs against that grain. For years it was said that BART to San Jose can't be done. I think I may have been one of the people who said that. Ground was just broken, and soon BART itself will break across the city limits of the city of San Jose. Carl's hand in that was and is tremendous. Also, we're told we couldn't support a theater. We now have the Susan Hammer Great Theater downtown San Jose. We can't expand an airport. And my friend Norm Mineta, we now have an airport named after that great individual. And we can't insure every child regardless of economic status. And thanks to you folks, that wonderful insurance has been available. I'm amazed when I read the history of all that you've done and contributed to that absolutely worthwhile cause. We can't support professional sports because some smaller city to the south said no. And here we have the 49ers. Again, Carl has been very active in that. There's not much more I can say about my friend Carl except to introduce him and let him speak for himself. Thank you.
If you'll give me just a moment, I'm emailing Lou. Lou Wolff, thank you so much. I am amazed to be able to follow you and Kathleen King. I think we would both agree we stand on the shoulders of giants when we hear those names of Art DeGius, Mike and Joan Hackworth, Reed Hastings, John and Denise York, Steve Wesley, Dan and Charmaine Warmanhoven, Mike and Mary Ellen Fox, the list goes on and on. I checked the brochure several times to make sure there wasn't a typo and why I would be among such great names and sharing it with my dear friend Kathleen, who does so much in our valley. I want to make a true confession really quickly, though, but I'm a big believer in keeping one's word and being here today. But yesterday I woke up with kidney stones, and because two are always better than one, I had one in each kidney and had 2 surgeries yesterday afternoon. So first of all, I'm heavily medicated, so I'm having a very good time. Second of all, Jeff Rosen is here, the DA, so I won't mention that I understand the street value of these is about $20 a pill, because I would never do something like that. But third, that was my 7th bout of kidney stones, my 6th surgery, and the good news is I'm told the 7th surgery is free. But I will do my best today, first with a tremendous thanks to Lou Wolff for all that you and your family do for our valley, our region, and our state. Second, to Matt Hammer and to PACT. I have been such a fan of your work for so long. And with Matt Hammer's leadership and stewardship, what you have accomplished has been extraordinary because you share a trait for which Silicon Valley is known around the world. We are not afraid to fail. Hear me clearly. We don't like to fail, but we're not afraid to fail. When you took on the Children's Health Initiative with our good friends at the Central Labor Council, you were not afraid to fail, and that's why more than 96% of all the children in our county have health care. When you took on the Small Schools Initiative and made so many campuses stronger and better for kids and families and educators, it was because you were not afraid to fail. And I've learned so much from that. My friend Tom Werner, the CEO of SunPower, is here today, and Tom and I share several things in common, and one is we are both Ironman distance triathletes. And one of the best triathletes in the world, a 3-time Hawaii Ironman champion, is a gentleman from Australia named Craig Alexander. And he lives by this motto: I never said it would be easy, I only said it would be worth it. And that, to me, exemplifies PACT, and I hope in some small way the work that I try to do with and through the Silicon Valley Leadership Group. And I'll mention 3 examples where we've tried to embrace that. First, the Housing Trust that was mentioned earlier. When we created that 13 years ago with an ambitious goal to raise $20 million in voluntary contributions, to leverage at least $200 million through private development and to help at least 4,800 families with that effort. One of our member company representatives came up to me and said, quote, "This will be the biggest disaster in the history of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group." We were not afraid to fail. Today, we've raised $40 million in voluntary contributions, and thanks to the great leadership of Kevin Zwick, our executive director of the Housing Trust, we've leveraged $1.9 billion in private development, and we've helped nearly 10,000 families in our valley afford a home in this high-cost region. The second example is one I hope you will all join us for. Did you enjoy that wonderful dessert today? I just found out those were 1,000 calories each. Here's the good news. On November 22nd, Thanksgiving morning, you can join us to run or walk our 8th annual Applied Materials Silicon Valley Turkey Trot, and you will burn off 1,000 calories exactly. But it's an example I want to give about community. My wife and I had a crazy idea. We like to race, let's start a race that will benefit our community, give back to nonprofits that help our valley's most vulnerable and needy families, and start our holidays in a fun and healthy way. Well, 8 years later, we expect 25,000 paid participants this year. If we hit that goal, we'll be able to donate $750,000 this year to our Second Harvest Food Bank, our Housing Trust of Santa Clara County, and our Children's Health Initiative. That would bring our 8-year total to $3 million for these great 3 nonprofits. So please, please join us this year. And Bob Brownstein, if you're here, those early days where it took you and I and Leslie 9 months to get anyone to believe in this vision of having such a race, we were not afraid to fail. Thank you for joining us in that fight. Finally, if I may, when I think of that goal of being not afraid to fail, it was June 7th, year 2000, after a 7-year effort, when Leslie Coleman said, "Yes, I will finally go out on a date with you." And a few years later, agreed to be my partner and spouse for life. And I want to thank Leslie for being here today, if you'll join me. I mentioned one Ironman triathlete. I'll close with another. A dear friend of Leslie and mine is another Australian, another Hawaii Ironman multiple winner named Chris McCormack. And he says simply, "A goal is a dream with a plan." A goal is a dream with a plan. And that's what I've often admired about PACT, about Matt Hammer, and about this valley. We set a goal based on a dream, but we don't stop with the dream. We have a plan to see it through. PACT, thank you for the great work you do and the honor of this award.